Now, this is a story all about how local soccer media got flipped, turned upside down. And we like to take a minute, so grab a beer so cold, and we'll tell you how we became electric gold. In White House, Tennessee, born and raised on the soccer fields was where we spent most of our days. Reading Mad Magazine and riding our bikes with a known propensity for rocking the mic. Now we're a trio of guys who are getting kinda old, cheering on the boys and gold with every bit of our soul, screaming our heads off while drinking some beers, hoping to give Cincy and Miami something to fear. Now Evan, John and Ryan are kicking the facts about Nashville SC, and they'll never come whack. If anything, we can say the show is rare. Acoustic blue and electric gold, the only colors we wear. We pull up Degoties about 7:38, and we yell to the refs, yo home, smell you later. We look at the castle, we feeling so bold. We sit on our thrones, we're electric gold.
Electric Gold is here in the house. I am Ryan, John, Evan. We have all gathered once again to talk about Nashville SC, to talk about stuff that we love, stuff that we don't love. Guys, I'm so excited to be with you this evening. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling ready for the podcast. How about you guys?
Yeah.
There's good vibes tonight, isn't there?
I think so. It's been a good couple of weeks for the team, and summer is definitely here. It has arrived in a major way.
Yeah.
If you've been outside at all, you felt that. And I'm just feeling it. I'm just ready to go. So let's get into it. Before we talk about any soccer, we got to talk about some beers because it's everybody's favorite part of the podcast. And so, well, let's just jump into it. John, what are you drinking this evening?
Hey, boys, I am drinking it's called a Teak, T-E-A-K, from Urban Artifact Brewing. And I'm just going to read, their description of it was really funny to me. Teak isn't just a beverage, it's a taste of pure enchantment. Crafted by our masterful brewers, Teak is brimming with the magic of tropical fruits, abundant pineapple, alluring pink guava, and zesty key limes. A brew that transports your senses to a faraway paradise. So, having read that, in reality, it's a good sour beer. It tastes fruity. I'll give it that. But what I discovered to my chagrin when I was doing my research, I was given this beer as a gift from our pal and rules analyst, Dr. Joey, and Urban Artifact Brewing is in Cincinnati.
Oh,
my God.
So I was disappointed at first. But then I thought of something. We've been posting our pictures of these beers on our Instagram, and sometimes we've been getting reposted by the breweries. Boys, there's a chance that a Cincinnati brewery might be posting pictures of a Nashville SC podcast and not even know it. So,
yeah. We're going to punk some Cincinnati brewers. That's good. Evan, what are you drinking this evening?
I could actually see this podcast eventually evolving into just a punk Cincinnati podcast. Couldn't you?
I'm in for it. Let's do it.
I don't know why we bother to do anything else, really.
Yeah. Why is this just now occurring to us? But no, boys, it's always so lovely to be with you tonight. I am having a Death Raptor by Monday Night Brewing. It's an IPA. It's got a zesty aroma and flavors of tangerine and grapefruit. It's delicious if you haven't already had it. And I chose it because I recall feeling like I wanted something like a Death Raptor to come eat me alive and put me out of my misery after we failed to beat the most hapless MLS team I have ever personally watched play on Saturday night. But anyway, there you have it.
Well, it still sounds like a great beer, and I'm right with you on the IPA train. Tonight, I'm drinking fresh squeezed IPA from Deschutes Brewery. This is a brewery up in Bend, Oregon, on the Deschutes River, which is what it's named for. And it's just a real quintessential type of IPA. It's got that tropical kind of flavor a little bit. It's citrusy, real crisp, lots of hops. If you like IPAs, I think you'll really like this one. It's just kind of stands out as that ideal IPA flavor, I think, that you're looking for. So I'm really happy to be drinking it. And of course, I'm so happy to be doing this podcast with you guys this evening. Cheers to you.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers, boys.
Okay, with that, let's do a week in review. The busy month of May for Nashville SC continued this week as the team squeezed 3 regular season games into just 1 week. After thumping Charlotte 2-1 last weekend, the Red Bulls of New York came to Geodis Park on Wednesday evening. The Red Bulls have never lost to NSC in the club's history, and Coach BJ Callaghan opted to roll out the regular starting lineup for this game. The Red Bulls' signature pressure defense was on full display to start the match, and the boys in gold had lots of trouble building any sort of opportunities. But then Patrick Yazbek grabbed a turnover at midfield and sprinted towards goal, taking his own shot instead of passing off to one of the wings. The decision proved successful as his shot found the goal, Yazbek's first with Nashville, and the team took the 1-0 lead. The Red Bulls came out of halftime aggressively, and in the 56th minute, their star striker, Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting, headed a cross from Cameron Harper that easily beat Joe Willis to tie the game at 1-1. Nashville of the past might have been deflated by such a turn of events, but this is Nashville 2.0, and so the team showed its resilience. And who else would lead the charge but one Hani Mukhtar, who took a terrific service from Alex Muyl and booted a shot into the left corner for a 2-1 Nashville lead in the 63rd minute. As the game entered the final stretch, the Red Bulls attacked relentlessly, but the boys in gold had plenty in the tank to repel anything that New York, which is really New Jersey, threw at them. In the end, NSC recorded its first ever victory over the Red Bulls with a 2-1 final score. And this past weekend, Nashville ended its 2-week homestand by hosting DC United, who have been languishing near the bottom of the Eastern Conference for much of the season. In response to the busy schedule, Coach Callaghan opted for several changes to the starting lineup, subbing in Teal Bunbury, Gaston Brugman, Ahmed Qasim, Josh Bauer, and Chris Applewhite in place of Sam Surridge, Alex Muyl, Jacob Schaffelberg, Jason Palacios, and Andy Nahar. The changes in the lineup were evident as the team appeared to lack some continuity as the match progressed. NSC dominated possession and established the tone and pace of the game, and even though they generated several scoring opportunities, the team was unable to convert anything meaningful. DC's effort was even more futile. Any moments where they gained possession were short-lived and turnover-prone, but Nashville was unable to capitalize, even when DC turned over the ball in dangerous territory. At one point in the first half, Teal Bunbury deftly crossed a ball to Hani Mukhtar for an open shot into the goal, but Bunbury was called offsides on the previous entry pass, a call that was questionable at best. The second half was more of the same, with Nashville dictating play but unable to generate any scoring, and DC unable to generate anything meaningful at all. The match ended with a 0-0 draw and a frustrated home side collecting just 1 point for their efforts. With that, Nashville finished its homestand with 7 points, along with the U.S. Open Cup win, and now sit in 4th place in the East with a record of 7 wins, 4 losses, and 3 draws and a goal differential of +8. They're also generating an incredible amount of scoring opportunities. NSC leads the league in shots on target and accurate shooting percentage, with Hani Mukhtar leading all MS players in shots on target. Nashville is also 3rd in the league for expected goals. The scoreless outing versus DC notwithstanding, NSC is an offensive powerhouse. Fellas, can you believe the era in which we live? What a time to be alive. Now, we've had a ton of action this past week, so I'd love to ask you guys, what have we learned about Nashville SC over these past several games? Evan, we'll start with you.
Well, I have learned that mania, this jam-packed month of May with 2 games a week instead of 1, may just push me over the edge into insanity. I'm not sure that my constitution is strong enough to handle this, and the squad rotation and the ups and the downs of our results. I'm sure we'll get into it, but I really do struggle with the way that maybe coaches in general, but BJ in this particular case rests his players and approaches these types of packed calendars. But I also learned I am not the only one. After that match Saturday night, coming out of the stadium, talking to friends and whatnot, everyone I talked to said some version or felt some version of the same way. No one really felt like that result was a good result. So anyway, that is what I learned. What did you guys learn?
I would say hold in there, Evan. We've got 4 games in the next 2 weeks, so it ain't stopping anytime soon. Hang on tight, bro. But yeah, one thing that I don't know if I really counted as learning because I kind of suspected it all season. I feel like I got really good proof this week that we are one Sam Surridge injury away from trouble because we don't have a backup striker currently on the roster that can get it done. Teal, as much as I love him, I love his effort, it's not the same team. And Sam Surridge, Wednesday night, to me, had a fantastic game. Even though he didn't get on the score sheet, he was kind of key to how we broke that famous press that the Red Bulls always have by playing it long to him, and he was holding the ball up, and he was doing it successfully every single time. And just his ability to work into the spaces and keep control really set us on our way to beating that stupid press finally for the first time ever. Although I actually think Teal played better than he did against the Red Wolves. He actually played better than that against DC United. It's still like it just wasn't enough, and there wasn't enough teamwork. It didn't fit in. So we really need a real number 2 striker. And I hope that we're able to get him sometime this summer. I know Woobens has been considered an option. I don't know if we're going to recall him because I think it would require international slot. So I don't know. Something needs to give there because I'm literally knocking on wood right now. But yeah, if something happens to Sam and we're suddenly not such a dominant offensive force.
Is that our number 1 need, do you think, is having that backup striker?
To me, currently, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you don't want to be riding that line and thinking, oh, crap, we're going to have to really rely on Teal Bunbury.
Yeah, I hear you. And we've seen Teal appear in 3 of the last 4 games that we've played because he, of course, started in the Open Cup match and then he came on as a sub in the Red Bulls match.
And he was fantastic in the Red Bulls match, I will say that.
Right. As
a closer, because he was like a man playing against kids. They could not take the ball away from him. But, we weren't trying to score at that point.
That's right. We're just trying to protect a lead. So he's great when you're doing that kind of play, when you're trying to protect a lead and he only has to be in there for 15, 20 minutes. Yeah. But to start a game and rely on him as part of your core offense, that's a bit tougher of an ask for him at this point in his career. I agree with you. I've got some thoughts as well on what I've learned, but I'm holding them out for my hot chicken take later. So just put a pin in that for a moment. We'll get back to that. Now, in addition to what we've learned, there's also some things that we thought were fantastic this past week. And that's what we're going to talk about in Oh, Hell Yeah. What is it? What's your hell yeah moment, theme, topic for the week?
Alex Muil to Andy Nahar to Alex Muil to Eddie Taxeth to Dan Lovitz to Sam Surridge to Dan Lovitz to Sam Surridge to Alex Muil to Hani Mukhtar to the back of the net. Oh, hell yeah. That was the most beautiful team goal Nashville SC has ever scored, and one of the greatest team goals I have ever seen anybody, certainly an MLS score. I mean, it was glorious. Yeah. The teamwork involved. They were all in sync. They were all in one mind collectively, and it was so beautiful to watch. It sent chills down my spine, and it is exactly why we call it the beautiful game. And it happened in Nashville, fucking Tennessee, last Wednesday.
Yeah, that was great ass soccer. I'll tell you that. A beautiful game, great ass soccer, whatever you want to call it. That's what it was. That's some of, if not the best sequence of soccer I've ever seen this team play. And we've watched a lot of minutes of this game over the last many years. And that was really, really nice.
It was what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know what else there is to say. Evan, do you have an oh hell yeah moment?
Oh, gosh, yeah, I do. And that's Yazbek's first MLS goal. Guys, what about that goal? He gets the ball so far away from goal, starts driving. He's making some shifty little moves with his hips. He's looking for folks, but the defenders I don't think they were giving him enough respect there and probably assuming he was going to play it. And all credit to him to recognize that and to take his opportunity. And boy, when he put his laces through that ball. What a laser. Oh my God. It hit the back of the net so fast and so hard. I was like, oh, hell yeah, that was incredible.
Who knew he had it in him? I didn't.
Wow.
It hit so hard that I actually was watching on TV and I thought that it had hit the post and bounced out. And I was like, oh, no. And then I saw everybody celebrating. I was like, oh, hell yeah, again.
Yeah, that was impressive. He had a winger on either side of him. He could have opted to defer to one of those guys, but I'm glad he just took the shot, just, had the confidence and, like you said, lasered it in there. It was great. It was great to see. And I think we've had 7 or 8 different scorers on this team so far this year. There's a lot of people have scored.
I think it's up to 9 or 10.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. It could be. We have had a lot of scorers. We have spread the wealth around. There's a lot of people involved. We got a lot of defenders, a lot of midfielders scoring. Guys, that is just not something we saw in years past. It was basically honey or bust. So this is great to see.
Gosh, I think we've had at least 4 or 5 defenders score. I mean,
right. It's been amazing.
You're right. It has been.
But of course, not everything is amazing. There are some things that probably were not so great, and that's going to lead us to hell no. Go ahead. What's your all hell no moment for the week?
Mine was when I saw before the game on Saturday that we were going to be wearing those blue Heart of Nashville kits. Because guess what? We've played 3 games with those things now. We haven't scored a goal in them. I knew the second we were wearing those at home, I was like, oh, hell no. We're going to fuck up tonight. What do you know? We did. We should burn those things. We lost 3-0 at Seattle, lost 2-0 at Red Bulls, and then a 0-0 draw at home with DC United. That's basically a loss. Those things suck. They didn't even look that good to start with. They were nowhere near as cool as the Man in Black kits in the last 2 years. Just dump them in the ocean. We look like the freaking Michigan Wolverines. We look like Charles Woodson winning the Heisman Trophy over Peyton Manning.
Yeah, right.
Fuck the Michigan Wolverines and fuck the Heart of Nashville kit. That's my hell no. And what sucks is that I know we're going to have to wear it next week at Columbus because Columbus is going to wear their yellow. We might as well just not even go to that game.
Ugh.
Like as a
shirts
team.
And skins. It's the shirts and skins, that game.
I like that. Dare I say it's the curse of the Heart of Nashville jerseys? Maybe another
feels
curse.
Like a curse to me. It feels like it to me.
So the soccer gods have a way of taking care of all of the bad choices and decisions that you might make. When you take away the Johnny Cash song at the beginning of the game, a curse will befall you and will follow you around until you wipe that stink off and you start playing the song again.
Yep.
When you're uncreative and coming up with your alternate kit for the year and you try and just shovel out some Adidas standard design nonsense just to make a cash play to try and collect more money from your fans, you're going to pay for that by not scoring a goal anytime that the team wears those jerseys. The soccer gods are reprimanding you for your bad choices.
Not just the soccer gods, but Johnny Cash himself. We benched Johnny Cash. Bad things happen when we do anything against the Cash family. When are we going to learn?
Yeah, that's
bring
right.
Back the Men in Black kits.
Yeah, bring them back. Might as well. Bring back the song. You see what happens. We start winning. Bring back the kits. We're going to just score 70 goals in a season. Something like that. Evan, was there anything that you saw this week that qualifies as all hell nah for you?
Yeah. In addition to those awful new jerseys, it was the starters that were wearing them on Saturday night. Okay, so let's just get into it. All right. I just think, given how poorly DC had been playing, and then on top of that, them being without their best player, Benteke, for that match, why don't we just go ahead and play the starters, build up a 2 or 3 goal lead by halftime? Then you can rest guys for the rest of the match. Let your subs come in. They've got the confidence and the comfort of knowing they've got the lead. They're almost certainly going to win the match. They can just add to it, get some good quality minutes. I just don't understand it. I think this was a missed opportunity. And so at the end of that match, I was just like, we didn't get all 3 points against this DC squad. Oh, hell no. You got to be kidding me.
At home, no less. I mean, that's the thing. It'd be one thing if you're on the road, but gosh, at home, you got to collect all 3 points, right? It's hard to be upset or critical of this team with how they've been playing lately. They've been playing great. This is way better than I would have expected them to be playing.
Absolutely.
If you told me this offseason that we would be watching this team lighten it up like they are right now, I would have taken it. If you'd told me last weekend, hey, they're going to get 7 points out of these next 3 home games, I would have been really happy with that. But to see the complete domination that we put on the field against DC, I mean, we had their number. They were helpless against us, yet we could not convert. We could not get that goal. And you could really see that there was a lack of continuity or a lack of chemistry amongst the forwards and the offense right there. That just because they haven't played together that much, you know?
Yeah. And truthfully, I do have my broader perspective on this is overwhelmingly positive. We didn't lose a place in the table. We jumped Miami. Yes, it was great. I just can't help but fear that at some point, especially towards playoff time, that 2 points could make a difference in making the playoffs. It could make the difference in being a home seed. I just can't get that out of the back of my mind, but I hope I'm wrong.
Oh, we're making the playoffs. Don't even worry about that.
Right,
Don't sweat it up. Don't sweat it.
All right, guys. Well, let's move on. Let's stop talking about bad stuff. Let's talk about the fact that this team has scored so far in just 14 regular season matches. We have scored 24 goals. That is a pace of 58 goals for the season, which would be well exceeding B.J. Callahan's stated goal at the beginning of the season. He wanted to get 50 goals out of this offense for the season. So we're well on that pace. And of course, here at Electric Gold, for every goal scored this regular season, we are naming off one of our favorite things. And John, it comes around to you tonight in honor of Patrick Yazbek's first goal in a gold jersey. What is one of your favorite things you'd like to share with our listeners?
I should have thought of something Australian, but I didn't. I thought of something even better.
Okay.
One of my favorite things in life so far through my 47 years, and possibly one of the reasons this podcast exists, is the power of independent radio. I love independent radio stations. And again, might be one of these things that is almost not existing anymore. Basically, everything cool that I've been into in life has come through listening to independent radio stations. When I was a wee lad, I'm talking like 9 or 10, the first thing that I found that was cool in life was actually a radio station called 88.5 WVCP. It was the radio station of Volunteer State Community College in Gallatin.
Yes.
And it was student-led. So there were students on there. I'm guessing there were community volunteers too. But in particular, there was this show, and I am putting this out into the universe, hoping someone gets back to me. It was 2 dudes named Chris and Dave, and it was a heavy metal show. And it was the first time I had heard actual heavy metal. I'm not talking about Def Leppard or whatever, as good as that stuff might be. I'm talking about like Metallica, Anthrax, Slayer, Megadeth. As a 10-year-old in 1987, that was really cool shit. And I remember hearing Master of Puppets the first time and just like thrashing my room to bits, just moshing around. And so I really love those guys, and I have no idea whatever happened to them. They could have just been 2 stone dudes from the neighborhood for all I know. But shortly after 88.5, I soon discovered my favorite all-time radio station, and that was 91.1 WRVU, the student radio station of Vanderbilt University. WRVU holds a special place in the hearts of many Nashvillians, but especially me. My mind was blown when I started listening. A lot of it was like alternative or college rock that you would expect to hear that really you couldn't hear too much unless you stayed up till like midnight and watched 120 minutes on MTV. Not only that, but it was all these other kinds of music that were just constantly on WRVU. In particular, there was a guy named Ken Berryhill, who is a legend in Nashville. He had a country music show / blues / jazz, anything
bluegrass too. Yeah.
Bluegrass. Yeah. And he was on there for since before World War II, maybe, since he was a student, and he just stayed around and did the show. Absolutely mind-blowing radio. I didn't even know that I liked any of that stuff until I heard this guy, and just his authoritativeness and like his love for all this music is just shown through the radio. He was amazing. I loved a DJ named Ichabod who got me into like goth music. He had a fantastic goth show called Out of the Coffin. You're talking like goth rock, ambient music, horror type music. I don't know. I loved it. I discovered a DJ named Czech who had a drum and bass / jungle show in Nashville in the mid 90s. And that was the first time I ever heard that. And that became basically the love of my life. I even had a jungle show myself, basically trying to be Czech. And eventually Ryan and I got on WRVU with our good buddy Patrick. We had a talk show for several years, and that was about as much fun as I've ever had. And really, my desire to bring that show back is what made me think, man, we got to do a podcast or something. So, yeah.
So we're old vets at this stuff.
We've been doing this for a minute.
It may sound like we're complete newbies that don't know what we're doing, but believe it or not, we actually have experience.
And we had a psychotic show. We had prisoners from jail that would come in.
We got a lot of fan mail from prison. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was Howard Stern on a budget, more or less.
Yeah, a very slim budget. Yeah, there was a funk show on 91.1 back in the 80s and 90s. Yeah, Nate did the one, but there was one before him too. They had some really great, just different eclectic types of shows on there. If you had a different kind of music you wanted to listen to, you could find it on 91. Like you said, that radio station was so important to so many Nashvillians from the 70s through the 90s. If you grew up in Nashville at all, it opened up your mind to a whole world of music. It was fantastic.
And of course, Vandy killed it.
Yeah, right.
Vandy eventually bought it, and I don't know what they did with it. Fortunately, the 91.1 band on the radio now, it's a station called WNXP that's owned by Nashville Public Radio, and several of the DJs on it are former WRVU DJs. It's cool. It's mostly indie rock that I've heard on there. It's just not quite WRVU in its glory. Hopefully they can build something out of this start. But yeah, it's so hard with independent radio now to get anything going. I wish they would, because God, I love WRVU.
Me too. I may still have a few CDs laying around that might have found their way into my backpack and out of the station from back then. They've got WRVU written on it, not for resale, something like that.
Yeah.
But promo discs or whatever.
But yeah, I have almost the entire John Coltrane discography.
Thanks, WRVU. All right. Well, I'm going to keep this train rolling.
Right.
One of my favorite things is early rock and roll. I'm talking about at the genesis, at the beginning, with Chuck Berry and Little Richard and all those guys, and a very unusual, unexpected rock star from the late 50s. You guys know him, Buddy Holly from Lubbock, Texas.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Here's my thesis statement for Buddy Holly. He is rock music's first alternative artist. And let me tell you why. So at the time, rock music is just starting to come into shape, and you have a bunch of artists that are just putting out mostly singles, mostly 45s. Most of the time, the music is written for them, or it's a repurposing of an older standard. It's tightly managed by the music industry, a lot of it. Here comes Buddy Holly, writes his own music, really unusual for the time. He puts together a band of a lead guitarist, a rhythm guitarist, a bass player, and drums. It's the prototype for every rock band basically following. And he set that mold. I mean, if you even look at the name of this band, Buddy Holly and the Crickets. Well, a band a few years later came along called the Beatles, and they named their band that because they were so inspired by the Crickets. They also put out an LP, which for you youngsters is a full album, at a time when people didn't do that. So he had a whole artistic vision and put together an entire album, collection of songs, and put it out. And that was really unusual and groundbreaking for the time. And guys, he accomplished all of this in the span of about 18 months. Just around 500 days from the time he was 19, 20 years old till he was 22. and then he was killed in a plane wreck. Think about this. In February of 1956, he's 19 years old. He signs with Decca Records. He was discovered because he was an opener for Elvis. Back in the day when artists toured, the opening act was just whoever was local. And so Elvis came and played in Lubbock, and Buddy Holly got to open for him, and he was discovered through that. So Decca Records signs him. They bring him to Nashville for some early recording sessions, and he records a couple of songs, including That'll Be the Day, an early version of it, a countryfied version of it. And the folks in Nashville just were not impressed, and they sent him on his way. They dropped him from his contract by the end of the year. So in 1957, he's 20 years old. He re-records That'll Be the Day, much more in his vision, what he wants it to be, with his new band, the Crickets, that he's formed with his buddies from Lubbock. It's released by Brunswick Records, which ironically was a subsidiary of Decca. It's released in May. By August, it's number 1 on the Billboard 200. And they are suddenly national stars. Between October and like February of the next year, they release Peggy Sue, Oh Boy, Maybe Baby, and Every Day, some of the most legendary rock songs in the history of the genre. And then in December, they release the LP, The Chirpin' Crickets. So again, just breaking ground right there. That was in 1 year when he was 20 years old. And then in the next year, he's 21, and it's just exploding. He performs on Ed Sullivan's show twice in January in 1 month.
Wow.
He tours Australia and UK in the summertime from May through August. So he's introducing rock and roll to a whole bunch of new kids who have never seen it before. Thousands of kids across Australia, across the United Kingdom, including one young British kid who you might have heard of. His name was Paul McCartney. Saw him on that tour. And then he releases his first solo single, Rave On, in June, which is now regarded as one of the greatest early rock songs ever written. And then he decides to break from the Crickets after the tour is over. He moves to New York City, to Greenwich Village. This is 1958. Greenwich Village is not cool yet.
Right.
Bob Dylan has not showed up yet. So he moves to Greenwich Village. He gets an apartment there, and he starts writing solo material, and it's way different. It's much more complex. He starts building strings arrangements for his songs. Strings weren't in rock and roll at that time. No. This is completely new ground that he's charting. And so he then records a number of demos in his apartment there in October, which are known as the apartment tapes. And there's a bunch of stripped down versions of songs that would define the last era of his career, the last year or so. January of the next year, 1959, he joins the Winter Dance Party tour with Ritchie Valens, the Big Bopper, and Dion from Dion and the Belmonts. In February 2nd, plays the final concert. Well, it wasn't supposed to be the final concert. He plays in Clear Lake, Iowa. That night, it's so cold. The bus is broken down that they're riding around on tour. And so Buddy Holly decides to charter a private plane. The plane can sit 4 people, the pilot, and then 3 passengers. Originally, he was going to have his 2 bandmates join him on the flight. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. One's Tommy Alsop. The other one's Waylon Jennings. You ever heard of those guys?
Yeah.
So Waylon played bass, and Tommy Alsop was the guitarist. Big Bopper was sick with the flu, and so Waylon Jennings gave up his seat to him. And then for the final seat, Ritchie Valens and Tommy Alsop flipped a coin, and Ritchie Valens, quote unquote, won.
Oof.
Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, Big Bopper, they boarded that plane. It took off. And of course, we know that it did not make it to its final destination. It crashed in a field and killed everybody on board. So in about 500 days, Buddy Holly accomplished all of that. And I know I'm going on long, but let me just give you a quick rundown of some of the folks who have said that Buddy Holly was a really huge, important, significant influence to them. I've already mentioned it. The Beatles. Paul McCartney said that Buddy Holly was the first person that they were really aware of in a serious way. They heard his songs and they were like, who's writing this stuff? And it was him. Of course, their name was inspired by the Crickets as well. Bob Dylan saw him 2 nights before the final performance on that Winter Dance Party tour. And he said he was powerful and electrifying. He felt a kinship to him. He saw him only once and that was enough. That was Bob Dylan's quote. Elton John was very inspired by him. That's why he wore those big, thick glasses for the early part of his career. So did Elvis Costello, in honor or homage to Buddy Holly. Bruce Springsteen admired Holly's stripped down songwriting and studio work. I mean, and then the Rolling Stones, they even covered Buddy Holly on one of their first singles. Keith Richards has said that Holly's guitar style shaped his own rhythm playing. So that's pretty impressive. Kudos as well. Eric Clapton called him the real genesis of everything that he did. Linda Ronstadt did several covers of Buddy Holly on her albums. Joe Strummer, the frontman from The Clash, he cited Buddy Holly as an early influence on his songwriting. And of course, more modern, kind of modern, it's 30 years ago, but in our era, Weezer, of course, did the Buddy Holly song on their first album. It wasn't just a kishy gimmick. It was a real tribute to the nerdy outsider who could become a rock star. Other artists include Tom Petty, James Taylor, Steve Winwood, The Byrds, Marshall Crenshaw, Roy Orbison, the Everly Brothers. There's so many. It goes on and on. If there's a tree of rock and roll, Buddy Holly is at the root of it all. He's right there with Chuck Berry, Little Richard, some of the other folks, but he is right here in the core of it. It all comes from him and a few other artists of that time. So he's always been one of my favorites. I love the work that he put out. It's a shame we didn't get more of him, but that's one of my favorite things.
Love it. What a fantastic pick.
Yeah,
that's awesome, Ryan.
So good.
Well, let's move on. That was a whole lot of words. Let's get back to talking about soccer. Guys, it's time to get real spicy. It's time for your Nashville Hot Chicken Takes.
My hot chicken take is that these owners got skills to shake, entertain the crowd and get on the field. 'Cause why the fuck not?
And Evan, you get first shot at this. What's your hot take for tonight?
Okay, here's my hot chicken take, boys. Chris Applewhite is a future MLS Defensive Player of the Year. Ooh. Guys, this kid can play. He just graduated high school on Friday night.
Oh, congrats, Chris Applewhite.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
No.
That's awesome.
And you see how well he plays, how poised he is, how effective he is playing his position defensively, but also contributing to the build-up play on the offensive side. Guys, we're looking at probably the next Walker Zimmerman, a future Defensive Player of the Year.
Oh, my gosh.
Hey, man, I was actually thinking along the same lines. You know who he reminds me of? Man, I hope I'm not damning him by this. He reminds me of my favorite guy in the world, Virgil van Dijk. He is just so collected back there, and he does not panic. It is unreal how little panic there is considering his age. And defender is that unforgiving position because there's so little scoring. If you have a player who sucks for most of the game but manages to find one goal a game, you call that guy Lionel Messi, and he's the god of the sport. But if a defender, plays fantastic, the same with a goalie for almost 90 minutes and makes one mistake, everybody always remembers the one mistake. That kind of pressure on a 17-year-old, and he is just so cool, calm, and collected. And he can pass. He can pass like a mother, and he's so good. I love the guy. I love this kid, man. I hope he stays with us forever.
Yeah. He's got incredible poise way beyond his years. Let's hope he sticks around for a long time. All right, John, have you got something equally or even more spicy? Anything you can do with that?
Do you want me to tell you my original Chris Applewhite hot take?
Yeah.
Let's try to go for it.
Yeah, take it for a test drive.
Mine is in the 2030 World Cup. There's going to be a game at some point with two teams that feature 22-year-old stars. One is going to be Spain with their Lamine Yamal, currently 17, and is the best player in the world right now. I'm just telling you, the kid is amazing. And the other one, Spain is going to play the United States, whose captain is going to be Chris Applewhite. He's going to be 22.
Wow. That is spicy as hell.
An epic match at the 2030 World Cup. That's how good I feel about Chris Applewhite.
Wow.
I haven't seen a 17-year-old defender like this. Certainly not in person, because we watched him in that Red Wolves game. And man, he was like 81 for 82 passing.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
Like, obviously, he was playing a lower division team that night, but like he was already by far far out of their league.
Yeah.
He definitely belongs at least in MLS. And so I hope we keep finding him time.
And remember, at that point, he still had finals to take.
Yeah, I know. he was studying for final exams and beating the crap out of professional soccer players.
Unbelievable. So is that going to be your final? Is that going to be your hot take? Did you have something else you want to throw out there, or is that it?
Yeah, that'll be 1A. 1B is a real quick one. Hani Mukhtar is going to win MVP again.
Woo!
2025. Hani Mukhtar is in form, baby.
He is.
Even though we didn't score Saturday night, I think he was playing his ass off. He was creating stuff. Everything that was a potential chance was through Hani Mukhtar. He's got that swag back, man.
He sure does.
And his goal should have counted. The one that they called the offside on Teal. First of all, I don't know how MLS can't figure out how to draw a fucking line the way that the Premier League and the Champions League do. We just can't do it, apparently, in America. We can't draw the line. So it's just kind of like guessing. So it was a close call to begin with. But the defender ran back and touched the ball anyway into Teal. And then Teal played it over to Hani.
Right.
It should have been a goal, but we have the most incompetent refs here.
Yeah.
So, regardless, Hani Mukhtar is back to full form to me. He is playing so good right now. And I think he's just going to keep flowing. Hani Mukhtar, MVP. Book it.
I like that. I like it a lot. All right. As I teased a little bit earlier, I've got a little bit of a hot take that I'll throw into the circle as well. And it's something that I learned this past week. And it's sort of something that I've been dancing around with for the past few weeks. But I think it's solidified now after watching the DC game. The real most important acquisition that we made this offseason was Andy Nahar. That's the guy who's making the biggest impact on our team. And I love Eddie Tagseth, and he's incredibly valuable to everything we're doing. Palacios has been great, but I'm telling you, Nahar is amazing, and he is making stuff happen. And did you see how much different that right side was without him, how ineffective it was? We were talking about a couple weeks ago. That's like the death right side right there. Like nobody had any answers for it. When you have Nahar, Hani, Schaffelberg all in a line there, that's just almost impossible to defend. And when he was not there, it was quite a different story. So for my money, I think Nahar has been the most valuable offseason acquisition. And I know I've sort of said it a few times and walked it back because Tagseth's been so great, but I just think I have to. Buddy. I got to go with my gut now. Nahar is really, really important to this team.
I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong.
You're not wrong.
And luckily, we don't have too many games while the Gold Cup is going on. I think he might miss 3 or 4, though, because he's going to be playing for Honduras.
For sure.
And that thing.
A lot of times he's captain of that team. So he's probably going to be out for a couple weeks or so with that. So we'll have to do our best without him. Josh Bauer, you better be doing your workouts, getting your stretches in and stuff. You're going to be coming up.
Yep.
Guys, something else that we did a few times last year, and it's been a long time since we've done it, but I wanted to bring it back, is take a few moments and put down our heartfelt thoughts and feelings onto paper with an old school letter to someone on the team or with the team, related to the team. And I asked you guys before the episode if you would please write a letter to BJ Callaghan. So I'd love to give you the opportunity to read that letter now. John, you want to go first?
Sure. Dear BJ, thank you so much for making Nashville SC games fun. We have always taken pride in being a great defensive team that was hard to beat, but man, that could only get you so far. Now we're a fun team that fears no one, and we have you to thank for that. But that's not the most important thing to me. The most important thing to me is I want to say thank you for having such a funny name and owning it. When you choose BJ as your name, you have set yourself up for a lifetime of hearing naughty jokes. But you just said, you know what? Bring it on, fuckers. So BJ Callaghan, we will follow you into the pits of hell, and you should never have to buy a beer in this town. As for me, I'll ask for a BJ every day.
Fantastic. Evan, did you write something to BJ as well?
I did. It's also heartfelt. It's fairly concise and to the point. It's like this. Coach Callaghan, please prove me wrong. Please make my worrying and fretting over these lost points at home just the silly little triflings of someone who doesn't know 1/1000th of what you know about the beautiful game. Please make ties that feel like losses feel like wins again. Please take the boys in gold all the way to the MLS Cup final and then guide them to victory so that we can all experience the glory of a Music City championship. That's all I ask. Yours truly, Evan.
Love it.
That's so sweet. Oh, that's fantastic, guys. Now, if you could just seal those up, put a stamp on them, and send them to the team, that'd be great. I'm sure that they will be read and considered fully. So thank you. All right. With all of that done, it's time for us to move into looking to next week. Let's do the weekend preview. There's another busy week lined up for the boys in gold. First up, NSC hits the road for their next U.S. Open Cup matchup against Eastern Conference rival Orlando City. Orlando are right on the heels of Nashville in the regular season standings. Both have 24 points, though Nashville has the slight edge due to a better home record. Orlando thumped the Tampa Bay Rowdies in their previous U.S. Open match 5-0, and they scored at least 3 goals in their last 3 MLS matches as well. This team is the definition of hot right now, but their record on the road isn't as impressive as they've only won twice, lost once, and drawn 4 times. Orlando is led by a 3-headed designated player monster of Argentinian midfielder Martin Ojeda, German forward Marco Pasalic, and Colombian forward Luis Muriel, who have combined to score 20 of Orlando's 27 goals this season. In stark contrast to their first U.S. Open Cup match, this showdown will require Nashville's best effort if they hope to advance in the tournament. And then next weekend, Nashville travels all the way north of the border to contend with Toronto FC, who currently sit in 13th place in the East with a record of just 3 wins, 7 losses, and 4 draws, and a goal differential of -2. Toronto doesn't score much, but they also don't allow a lot of goals either. And while some might be inclined to take this matchup lightly, you do so at your own peril. Not only have we seen recently against DC that even low-ranked teams can hold their own in the right circumstances, but Toronto specifically is coming off of a scoring explosion, having just routed Canadian rivals Montreal 6-1. That's right, Toronto scored nearly 40% of all the goals that they've scored this season in one game. So no matter whether it was a fluke or the start of an offensive explosion, Nashville will be wise not to take this opponent for granted. So guys, as we look ahead to these next 2 games, I'd love for you guys to break out your crystal balls, y'all. And John, we will start with you. What is your prediction? What is your crystal ball saying for these next 2 games?
My crystal ball, it tells me of the future, and I will speak of it now. Orlando Wednesday is going to be a tough-ass game. They came off just beating the crap out of Miami down in Miami. And they always recently have done well in the Open Cup. Hopefully, the fact that they started their top starting lineup Sunday against Miami, and we didn't start our top lineup, hopefully this means that we're going to be our best lineup Wednesday, maybe against their B lineup. That's my hope. But my crystal ball sees a 2-2 tie with Nashville SC going through on penalty kicks.
Ooh. Yes.
And you know who's going to be stopping the penalty kicks for Nashville SC?
Brian
Schwacke. Brian Schwacke. I don't know whether he's going to start the game or if we bring him in like near the end when we know it's going to go to penalty kicks. I think we'll make the move, though. I think BJ is going to see, because Schwacke, he did stop a penalty in the preseason. So he's got that on the resume. Of course, Joe did stop a penalty, too, this year. I don't know. My crystal ball gets cloudy. One way or another, we're gonna win the penalty kicks. We're gonna advance in the cup.
Hell yeah.
Toronto, they're not a very good team, but they did just beat the utter shit out of an even worse team this weekend. So they might be flying a little bit higher than usual. I feel this one's going to be a draw that feels like a win. I say 1-1 up north of the border with our Canadian superstar Jacob Schaffelberg getting on board, rubbing it in the faces of his former employers.
Nice. Okay, well, that'd be a pretty decent week. Evan, what's your crystal ball saying?
Oh, okay. Well, let me gaze into it. And what's this? It says, "Oops, 404, page not found." Oh, that's weird. Guys, I thought the Red Bulls match would be low scoring and the DC match would be a higher scoring affair. Obviously, that did not prove prescient. My crystal ball must be defective, or maybe it's my eyes. God knows that they are pretty poor anymore. But either way, now it's coming through. It says a 3-2 win against Orlando with goals by Chris Applewhite, Jonathan Perez, and Brian Acosta. And then a 1-0 victory on the road against Toronto with an absolute banger by one of the league's leading MVP contenders so far, Hani Mukhtar.
Yeah.
Terrific. I like Evan's prediction way better, John. Just going to say.
It's way better. Fuck my prediction. Throw it in the trash.
All right. Well, that I would look forward to. Thank you guys so much. Looking forward to these games and hopefully a lot more goals and a lot more victories. In the meantime, we need to wrap this up because I got to say, I just finished my beer, so it's time to be done. But before we go, John, you want to let people know how they can reach out to us? We're due for another mailbag soon, so we need some good
we're building it up.
Listener comments.
Everybody send in your hot takes, your hell yes, your hell no's this week. And we'll have a fun one on the next time. We are Electric Gold NSC on Facebook, on Instagram, and on X, formerly Twitter. Reach out to us, instant messages, comment, whatever. We will get it one way or another, and we're going to read it on the air. But yeah, like us, follow us, do all that fun stuff online that the kids do, and we just appreciate you. We love you. Thank you.
Amen. We love our listeners and are so thankful for everyone who is subscribing, liking our podcast, and listening every week. We sure appreciate it. And John and Evan, thank you guys for another fun episode. And until next time, please, everyone, just keep supporting the boys. Keep cheering them on. They're doing great. This is a fun season, so hang in there and let's keep this train a-rolling. Keep cheering them on. Come to some games. Next one's not for a couple weeks at home, but come to some games. And of course, keep on saying it. Come on, you boys and gold.
Chicos de oro.
Come on, you boys and gold.
Under cities, neon lights, talking dreams on Friday nights. Electric vibes and stories told. Come on, you boys in gold. Waves of laughter in the air. Podcast pals without a care. Sharing glorious thoughts out loud. Come on, you boys in gold. Waves of laughter in the air. Podcast pals without a care. Sharing glorious thoughts out loud. Come on, you boys in gold. Electric.
Hang on. Stop right there. Busy week, Orlando and Toronto, two different cities from different countries, different climates, but both trying way too hard to convince you they're more than they actually are. Let's do this. The tourist trap with a heat stroke and the personality vacuum with free healthcare, all in one scalding combo meal. Orlando is just a strip mall wrapped around a roller coaster, and Toronto is a condo wrapped around a maple leaf. Orlando has more tourists than residents, and Toronto has more condos than humans. Orlando's cultural centerpiece is the talking mouse. Toronto's is a glass stick that looks like a vape pen. Orlando is where you take your kids for overpriced trauma. And Toronto is where you go to feel cosmopolitan while crying in your $14 smoothie bar. Orlando, a theme park pretending to be a city. In Toronto, a LinkedIn post pretending to be a personality. Orlando's like living in the microwave that occasionally gets hit by a hurricane. Toronto's like living in the freezer where the air is made of judgment and Tim Hortons exhaust. In Orlando, you'll sweat through 3 shirts by noon, while in Toronto, you'll freeze your face off while trying to say sorry before your lips stop working. Orlando has 2 seasons, summer and death. Toronto has 2 seasons, snow and construction. Orlando smells like sunscreen and regret. Toronto smells like a wet scarf and passive aggression. Orlando traffic is just golf carts and minivans driven by people lost in Google Maps purgatory. And Toronto's transit is a slow motion apology for being late to everything. In Orlando, you can't go anywhere without a car. In Toronto, the subway breaks if you look at it wrong.
Toronto's streetcars are slower than Canadian politics, and Orlando's highways were designed by a guy blindfolded on a hoverboard. Toronto is what you get when you give a city anxiety and a dress code. Orlando is the Florida man of cities, unpredictable, hot, and always on the news for the wrong reason. Toronto is obsessed with being New York. Orlando's obsessed with being Miami. Orlando thinks that having 46 chain restaurants in a row is culture, and Toronto thinks that bland politeness is culture. Toronto brags about Drake like he's a Nobel Prize, and Orlando brags about Epcot like it's a master's degree. Neither one of these cities have it going on. Guys, Nashville can show you what it's like to be a real city. We're going to come to you this time. We're going to show you what's up. We got something real special we're bringing along. It sounds like this.
Electric gold on the beat. Ho. Orlando full of tourists, Mickey Mouse schemes, fake smiles plastered, just selling dumb dreams. Humidity choking, streets ain't got no soul. Mouse ears on your head, man, that's your role. Toronto too cold, y'all can keep that frost. Maple syrup flow, but your culture's lost. Nashville the king, where the grind don't stop. Country swagger meets the realest hip hop. Toronto skyline, needles in the air. Think you Drake City, but nobody care. Poutine and cold fronts, y'all stay fake. Meanwhile, we cook heat, serving prime steak. Toronto too cold, y'all can keep that frost. Maple syrup flow, but your culture's lost. Nashville the king, where the grind don't stop. Country swagger meets the realest hip hop. Orlando got gators, but no bite in the fight. Y'all tiptoeing theme parks under neon lights. Meanwhile, Nashville blazing. Six-string fire, southern roots deep, and we climbing higher. Scorching in the south, where legends are born. Orlando a facade, theme parks too worn. Toronto wanna chill, but they soft at the core. Music city build dynasties, kicking indoors.